The streets of South Central Los Angeles carry a weight that settles on your chest the moment the sun dips below the horizon. It's a place where shadows grow longer, where every corner holds a story, and where the night air hums with an energy that keeps most people on edge. For rideshare drivers, these streets are a gamble, a necessary risk in the pursuit of making ends meet. On this particular night, one driver accepted a ping that would change everything he thought he knew about fear. It was almost 11 when the notification lit up his phone. A pickup request from a residential street deep in South Central. The driver, Marcus, had been doing this for 3 years. He knew the area, respected its unspoken rules, and understood that survival here meant reading people quickly and trusting your instincts. But the algorithm doesn't care about instincts. It only cares about matching riders with drivers. Marcus accepted the ride, his hands gripping the steering wheel a little tighter than usual as he navigated through dimly lit streets where streetlights flickered like dying stars. The pickup location was a narrow street lined with chain-link fences and barred windows. Houses sat close together, their facades weathered by time and hardship. Marcus pulled up to the address, his headlights cutting through the darkness. He could see a figure standing on the sidewalk, tall and motionless, hands buried deep in the pockets of a dark hoodie. Something about the stillness of the man made Marcus's stomach tighten. Most passengers would wave, check their phone, show some sign of acknowledgement. This man just stood there, watching the car approach like a predator studying its prey. The back door opened with a heavy click, and the man slid into the seat behind Marcus. The interior light revealed a face partially hidden by the hood, angular features cast in shadow, eyes that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "You, Marcus?" the passenger asked, his voice low and flat, devoid of the casual friendliness most riders offered. Marcus confirmed with a nod, his eyes darting to the rearview mirror. The man settled back, and an oppressive silence filled the car. No music request, no small talk, just the hum of the engine and the weight of unspoken tension. As Marcus pulled away from the curb, he tried to break the ice. "How's your night going?" he asked, forcing a lightness into his voice that he didn't feel. The passenger didn't respond immediately. Several seconds passed before he spoke. "Just drive. Don't ask questions." The words landed like stones in water, creating ripples of unease that spread through every nerve in Marcus's body. He nodded slowly, his hands tightening on the wheel. The destination was only 15 minutes away, but each minute stretched into an eternity. The streets outside grew darker, more isolated, the familiar landmarks giving way to industrial zones and empty lots. 5 minutes into the ride, the passenger leaned forward, and Marcus felt the man's breath on the back of his neck. "You ever been robbed before?" The question came out casual, almost conversational, but there was something sharp underneath it, something that made Marcus's heart slam against his ribs. He tried to keep his voice steady. "No, man. Look, I'm just trying to do my job here." The passenger laughed, a sound without humor. "Relax. I'm just asking." But Marcus knew better. Years of driving these streets had taught him to recognize when words were weapons, disguised as conversation. The car approached a red light, and Marcus considered his options. He could stop, jump out, run. But what if the man was faster? What if he had a weapon? The light turned green, and Marcus accelerated, his mind racing faster than the car. The passenger shifted in his seat, and through the mirror, Marcus saw him reach into his jacket. Time slowed. Every horror story he'd ever heard from other drivers flooded his consciousness. This was it. This was the moment that separated the stories you hear about from the stories you survive. "Pull over here," the passenger commanded, pointing to a dark stretch of road between 2 abandoned warehouses. Marcus's mouth went dry. This was the worst-case scenario, the nightmare every driver fears. His voice came out smaller than he intended. "The app says your destination is still 10 minutes away." The passenger's tone hardened. I said, pull over. Now. Marcus's hands trembled slightly as he guided the car to the side of the road. The engine idled, a mechanical heartbeat in the suffocating silence. He could feel the passenger's eyes boring into the back of his head, could sense the calculation happening in the space between them. What would you do in this situation? Would you comply, hoping for mercy? Would you risk everything and try to escape? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because what happened next will shock you. The passenger's hand emerged from his jacket, and Marcus closed his eyes for a split second, bracing for whatever came next. But instead of cold metal, he heard paper rustling. You see this? The passenger asked, his voice suddenly different, almost vulnerable. Marcus opened his eyes and looked in the mirror. The man was holding a photograph, worn and creased, of a young girl, maybe 8 years old, smiling at the camera. The passenger said, and for the first time, Marcus heard emotion crack through the cold exterior. Her mother took her 3 years ago, moved somewhere in this neighborhood. I've been searching every street, every corner. The tension in the car shifted like a storm changing direction. The passenger continued, his voice thick with pain that had been compressed into rage. I didn't mean to scare you. I just needed someone who wouldn't ask questions, who wouldn't try to talk me out of what I need to do. Marcus's fear began to mix with something else, something more complex. He understood desperation. He understood what it meant to be stripped of the thing you loved most. But he also understood danger. And the line between a desperate father and a dangerous man was sometimes invisible until it was too late. Marcus took a breath and made a decision that would either save his life or end it. Listen, man. I get it. I really do. But threatening me, that's not going to help you find your daughter. That's just going to land you in a place where you definitely can't find her. The words hung in the air between them. The passenger stared at the photograph, his jaw working as if chewing on thoughts too bitter to swallow. Then, slowly, he looked up at Marcus in the mirror. I'm sorry, he said, and the apology carried the weight of a man who had lost himself in his search for what he'd lost. Thank you so much for staying with us this far. Your support means everything. And trust me, the most powerful part of this story is still ahead. Marcus didn't restart the car immediately. Instead, he turned around to face the passenger directly, breaking the barrier between front and back seat. Where does her mother live? Do you have an address? The passenger shook his head. Just a neighborhood. I've been riding around for weeks, hoping to catch a glimpse of her at a park or a school. Marcus pulled out his phone, making sure his movements were slow and visible. There are better ways to do this. Legal ways. Ways that don't end with you in handcuffs or worse. He opened a browser and started searching for family services, mediators, legal aid in the area. For 20 minutes, Marcus and the passenger sat in that car on a dark South Central street, and something unexpected happened. The passenger's name was Devon. His daughter's name was Aaliyah. 3 years ago, his ex-girlfriend had disappeared with their daughter after a custody dispute turned ugly. No forwarding address, no communication, just an empty apartment and a hole in Devon's life that grew bigger every day. Marcus listened, really listened, and then shared resources, phone numbers, advice from a friend who had gone through something similar. The rage in Devon's eyes slowly gave way to something else, something that looked almost like hope. When Marcus finally dropped Devon off at a different location, a community center that offered legal services for parents, the energy between them had completely transformed. Devon stepped out of the car, then leaned back in. I'm sorry for scaring you, man. Really. I wasn't thinking straight. Marcus nodded. Find your daughter the right way. She needs a father, not a ghost in prison. Devon closed the door, and Marcus watched him walk toward the building, shoulders still heavy, but somehow straighter than before. As Marcus pulled away, His hands finally stopped shaking. He had survived, not by running or fighting, but by seeing the human being beneath the threat. The streets of South Central looked different as Marcus drove home that night. Still dangerous, still unpredictable, but also full of stories more complex than the headlines suggest. Every passenger carries something, fear or hope or rage or love, and sometimes all of them at once. Marcus would continue driving these streets, accepting pings in neighborhoods others avoided, because he understood something fundamental now. Survival isn't just about protecting yourself from danger. Sometimes it's about recognizing that the person threatening you might be drowning in their own desperation, reaching for anything to hold on to. What do you think about this story? Have you ever faced a situation where fear transformed into understanding? Share your experiences in the comments below. And if you want more true stories from the streets, stories that reveal the complicated truth about the people we pass every day, hit that subscribe button for Last Ride. We bring you the real, unfiltered experiences that happen when strangers share a confined space, and life happens in the time it takes to drive from one point to another. Don't forget to watch the next recommended video, where another driver faces an impossible choice that changes everything.